Good morning. China has an industrial policy which provides large subsidies to industries and to companies which they believe are important to their future. But their system is very different from ours in the West, and we'll go through some examples here. First, consider how things work back home in the United States and in Europe. We subsidize our biggest and our richest companies, the legacy companies. So in 2008, for example, during the financial crisis, our governments identified a handful of the biggest banks and financial institutions and declared that they were too big to fail. Dozens of smaller banks were allowed to go under. Instead, we just moved those banking customers to the too big to fail institutions. Another example is our automakers and the bailouts for the auto industry when they needed them, and the rich subsidies that we provide for car makers to build new factories. A very recent example is the CHIPS Act, which is $50 billion or more, and these were offered to some of the biggest and richest companies in the world in the hope that they will build new chip fabrication plants in the United States, companies like Intel and Taiwan Semiconductor. In China, things work very differently, and it begins with a pretty simple idea, which is that big companies do not innovate very well. Big companies don't hire people. It takes a long time for big companies to do anything because at a certain size, they become large bureaucracies. Small companies are different. Small companies innovate, they take risks, they hire people. They're small so they can change direction quickly. And to take Intel and the CHIPS Act as an example, Intel will receive $8.5 billion in grants and $11 billion in loans from the government. Call that $20 billion or so. And for that same $20 billion, China figures they can invest instead in 2,000 companies instead of just one. And this is a key strategy and helps explain how Chinese companies can come out of nowhere and suddenly dominate a key part of a key supply chain. And let's remember when we work through some of these examples, these companies here are in the aerospace sectors. They're aircraft, satellites, space exploration. The very most advanced companies, the most advanced technologies being developed here. China begins by identifying technological choke points. Where are the points in an industry where one company or one country can stand in the way? Then, what does China need to build? What technology does China need to develop so that those bottlenecks go away? Then, China identifies companies here that are already doing that work. They identify companies that they call little giants and single champions. Little giants are companies that might have great potential in the future to master a key process or a key technology. Single champions are companies that are already doing so here in China, but with a little help can dominate a global industry. One of the biggest challenges for small companies is high research and development costs. It costs a lot of money to do cutting-edge research. People are expensive, labs are expensive, so China just gives them these tools. Do you need help doing research? They'll set up a division in a local university, for example, to do it with you. Do you need to test your ideas with real-world products in the market? They'll set up relationships with companies that will help you do that too. Here are some real-world examples of how the strategy works here. Grip M Advanced Materials. They focus on copper-based metal powders that have a lot of very high-tech applications. They started out as a little giant, and now Grip M is the leading domestic supplier here in China, and they own 38% of the world market. Ningbo Yongxin Optics. They make satellite lenses and fluorescent microscopes, and they're already on the moon and being used on the Chinese space station. Comnav makes specialized computer chips and computer boards used in global navigation satellite systems. The founder of the company set it up when he learned that Another company that was in the Single Champions program, South GNSS, they relied on foreign suppliers. So Comnav builds cheaper ones here and took the market away. This is another failure of the semiconductor sanctions, could also add. The Single Champion strategy identifies where China's capabilities are already strong and can easily grab market share from global companies outside China. What makes a lot of this work easier and better and more effective is China's dominance in supply chains and in logistics. Going back up to the copper powder example, Grip M. China's companies in Chile, for example, and in other copper-producing countries can supply Grip M with all the high-grade copper that the company needs to be the world leader from now on. And companies from other countries will just get in line. Grip M will have 100% of their demand met before anyone else gets any. And just watch. We've seen this movie 100 times and we already know how it ends. In 5 years, anyone, anywhere in the world who needs to buy powdered metals, they'll be buying them from Grip M or they'll be doing without. And another key link in a supply chain in a dozen industries will move entirely to China. This is the China's strategy, their system being applied to thousands of companies in dozens of industries. This is how it works. That is their strategy. And it is a very simple strategy, and it's simple to understand. And that's the government policy. That's how China's industrial sector, their banking sector, even their universities and political organs at the national and provincial and municipal level, all the way down. That's how they are organized. To find small companies that do one thing, but who do them really, really well, and give them some capital, and help them take over the world doing just that one thing, and putting at their disposal whatever supply chains they need, almost unlimited engineering talent, cooperation with Chinese university departments, access to the Chinese consumer market to market test their tech in real time. That is their system. That is the system that we are up against. Be good.
Give us this day.